Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Amy Carr Hilton and I know firsthand the hardships of figuring out how to recover from chronic pain and other chronic symptoms on our own. So I'm inviting you here to explore our pain mastery together because it is you who has the greatest power to influence your own pain healing. And I really want to share this experience with you.
Okay, so now you know the path in and out of neuroplastic pain. Let's talk about the 4 elements of care. There are 4 elements of care: compassion for self, awareness of context, reassurance of safety, and exposure to our triggers. These are the 4 elements that must be present in any neuroplastic healing program. Ultimately, we're aiming for these 4 elements of care to be present in every moment of our day, in every choice we make, thought we have, and action we take to heal. We want to be living right there in the middle where all the 4 elements merge to have the best possible chance of healing and maintaining that state of well-being. Now, the elements of care are not specific practices or tools. They're concepts that need to be present in our thoughts, beliefs, and the actions we take in our days as we care for ourselves. So compassion for yourself as you go through this is so important. Neuroplastic healing is messy. It's not going to be perfect. It's an unpredictable process. And to approach that without compassion for yourself through all the doubt, fear, and frustration that is sure to come up is just asking for trouble. One of the things I've seen common in every single person I've worked with and in myself is a lack of self-compassion. And this isn't always obvious to ourselves until we look back on our behavior in relationships and within our community. So it can look like a deep drive to be perfect, to get everything just right, to be very critical of ourselves. We are generally far more critical of ourselves than we are of others, but we might also project that need to be perfect onto others in our close relationships too, maybe our partners, our children. And it can also look like needing to please others to make sure their needs are met, that the ones we love feel happy, taken care of, and valued. And often this happens at the expense of our own needs. Now, all of this behavior on the outside might look like you are just a very caring person, which you are. But internally, this behavior is showing your brain that you are not good enough just as you are, that you need to be putting out more, to be proving to yourself that you're of value or proving to others that you're of value. And we are social creatures. We need to fit in order to survive. So these messages that we're sending our brain are actually big danger messages. And as well-meaning as it may be when we're caring for sick family or when our careers or roles in our communities are based in caring for others, we need to stop putting ourselves last, putting ourselves down, and having expectations of ourselves that no one could possibly live up to. So we need to act compassionately toward our imperfectly perfect selves. So awareness of your context is a big one I see missing in people's recovery process a lot of the time. We can't treat the pain. The pain isn't the problem. It's not what we need to treat. We need to treat the context for emotional pain that lies beneath the sensations we feel in our body. And if that's a little bit vague or you're not really getting what I'm saying, don't worry, we're going to get way more in depth with that. So we can often pick up on obvious triggers for our pain, things like particular activities like vacuuming might trigger low back pain, or wearing clothing that scratches or digs in, screen time, driving, sitting in a hard chair, or certain smells or foods or sounds or weather, being around certain people or places. There are many things that we might notice correlate to our pain, that our pain happens at the same time that those things are happening. This doesn't mean they're the cause of pain. It is important to notice these triggers in our lives because while they're not the actual cause of our pain, they are factors that make up the context in which we get protective alerts like pain or bloating or migraines or whatever our chronic symptoms are. So these factors are not the cause of the pain, but they do have a deeper emotional, social, or psychological impact on us that are sending danger messages. So to heal our pain experience, we need to minimize our pain context. And we can only do that by deepening our awareness, the A of the C.A.R.E, of the emotional experience that lies beneath those maybe more obvious triggers. Now, our reassurance of our safety is pretty obvious. Of course, we need to reassure ourselves of our safety, but I see a lot of people kind of half-assing it. And I'm just going to be straight with you. If you're trying to tell yourself you're safe without understanding how you could possibly know that to be true, and you're still going to appointments asking for parts of your body to be fixed, if you're still going for a massage and saying, fix my shoulder, it hurts, if you're still going to chiro and saying, fix my back, it hurts, if you're still going to your naturopath and saying, give me all the probiotics because my IBS needs it, then you are sending your brain mixed messages. You are trying to intellectually tell yourself that your body is sound, but your actions are giving your brain a different message. So reassuring ourselves of our safety is generally practiced solely as a top-down approach, just using words and reason to tell ourselves we're safe. This isn't enough. The limbic system, the emotional center of our brain, doesn't really speak our language. It needs to experience safety to truly feel reassured. So it's important to use both top-down, cognitive, affecting the body, and bottom-up, the body, sensations of the body, experience in the body, speaking to the brain. So top-down, bottom-up practices, both in your safety reassurance. So this means reinforcing your cognitive safety top-down through experiencing safety in your body, bottom-up. Now, our brain is exceptional at guessing what our experience is going to be based on taking in little bits of data. And this is called predictive processing, and our brain does this to conserve energy. Imagine if our brain tried to take in every single thing that's happening at every given moment. That's a lot of information. That's information overload. So the brain takes in little bits of data, and then it predicts what your experience is and gives you the perception that it thinks that you need to have. So check out the checkerboard example. There is an image there. Tile A on the checkerboard looks significantly darker than tile B. However, they're actually both the exact same shade of gray. And the brain uses the coloring of the nearby tiles and the location of the shadow cast by the cylinder to make its best guess about the checkerboard's colors. In this case, the guess leads to the perception that A and B are shaded differently, even though they're actually identical. And you can see that in the right image, how the tiles are connected. It just makes it clear to the eye that they're actually the exact same shade. So our brain is constantly making these best guesses to make sense of our experience in the world. And in the case of chronic neuroplastic pain, it's been making errors. So we need to teach it to have less predictive errors through top-down and bottom-up practices to truly reassure our safety. So that's the reassurance piece. And then finally, we have exposure to triggers, E. This can be a little scary to get on board with, especially if your more obvious triggers are positional, task, or movement-based, where you have specific triggers like foods, things that you have had strong correlational experiences with pain. But it is really important to make sure you are exposing yourself to those triggers to teach your brain that they're actually safe. By avoiding triggers, we are only strengthening the conditioned pain alert connected to them. So we need to expose our brain to triggers to give our poor little overworked protective brain a chance to decondition those protective alerts. But we need to do it slowly, and there's a process to this called graded exposure. So I often hear from clients that when they're feeling a little better one day, or they've just had enough and they've decided they're going to push through whatever pain and pretend to feel normal. They go out and do what they expect they should be able to do, meaning they go from 0 to 100. We've all done this, right? 0 to 100 without giving their nervous system a chance to feel safe with the change. So we need to expose ourselves to our triggers gradually. Our limbic system likes consistency. It likes things to stay the same. It likes familiarity. It feels safest when things stay the same, even when the familiar is not actually safe. Think abusive relationships. Why do we constantly look for chaos in our lives if that's what we grew up with, if that's what our limbic system knows as normal, as familiar? It wants things to stay the same. So we will continue to look for chaos until we relearn a new way of showing up for ourselves. So even though this is kind of a flawed system, it's just how our protective brain works. It looks for familiarity. And if we make changes too quickly, if we expose ourselves too quickly to our triggers, any changes, our brain can see this as dangerous even when it's perfectly safe. So we need to expose our nervous system to triggers in order to decondition the pain response, but we need to do it gradually. And if you've been doing a lot of healing work already, but you're feeling stuck, then the 4 elements of care might be just the thing that's been missing for you. And we'll talk about why next.